Garcia, and I am an assistant chaplain here at St. Augustine's Episcopal Chapel. Tonight is a night of testimony, poetry, and song with two main objectives: to raise money and to raise awareness for advancing the cause of racial justice in our city of Nashville and the region of Middle Tennessee. We thank you all for joining us on live stream, and we ask that you share the live stream to your social media platforms, get the word out, and also make a donation in any amount. No amount is too small or too large. You can give to the Justice Fund in one of two ways: through the St. Augustine's Chapel online donation page, the website is listed there in our sign, or through Venmo at St. Augustine's-Chapel and hashtag the Justice Fund. St. Augustine's Chapel is committed to the work of radical inclusion and to do the work of love and justice, not only here within the congregation, but more specifically out on the streets, beyond the sanctuary. And so we're excited to be hosting this event tonight and to have a wonderful array of performers and speakers and organizations lifting up this important work in our city. All of tonight's proceeds will go to support the grassroots organizations that you will be hearing tonight that have been committed to this work, that have been on the ground from the beginning, blood, sweat, and tears, and just doing the good work that we all should be following. I'm excited that we begin our event with a new piece by Rashad the Poet, accomplished poet and activist with numerous albums and accolades, local and national, for his movement-oriented spoken word and hip-hop. Rashad couldn't be with us in person, but we are so grateful for the powerful contribution that he is making to this event. Let us hear the voice of Rashad the Poet, Rising.
Good afternoon and good evening. Always honored to be a part of conversations that hopefully continue to push us as a nation forward. I think as a poet, it's always my duty to speak from a place of truth and also speak from a place of the right now. And when I was asked to do this event, I wanted to write something that I felt like spoke to the right now. So this is a new piece, so I'm going to read it. Hope you enjoy it. The little boy asked, "Why is your heart so cold? Where is your compassion?" Another strike across his cheek, life flashing. Tears that teeter back and forth between frustration and anger, but never fear. Fear left a little after they took his father away. Fear turned into passion, passion turned into perseverance, pursuing justice by any means. Well, that sometimes means putting your life on the line, hoping and praying you don't go flatline. We've seen Black life snatched since Black feet touched down on these shores. No scores, only roars from crowds that cheered for a neck that snapped during a lynching, a soiled, bloody back from whips with no appeal that destroyed a baby's face. Some distance themselves from these narratives. They say things like, "Well, that was then, and this is now." But what is now? Tamir Rice was 12 years old, murdered for doing what little boys do. America, you created this game of cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians, but somehow we don't fit that mold, all created equal. How? John Crawford was murdered without a chance to think. So again, I ask, what is now? What is now? Is now somehow free of the hate from then? Did now find immunity in past sins? How does now look in the mirror and become one? What have we won? What has this sea to shining sea seen that makes us believe justice isn't corrupted, rooted in cotton that was plucked with our blood only to now keep us from the money made from cotton? Something smells rotten. It's this deal you tried to pass off as equity. Keep your sandwich names in your Twitter statements. If you want to show which side of the sand you're on, put it in a check. Redistribute the wealth that was stolen. Words carry weight, but money carries power. Where are your dollars, America? You got free labor, then said, I won't hit you anymore. That should make us even. No, we are not square. So we march on the plaza and in the square. Tired of the virtual lynchings by overseers. This is a tipping point. This is a boiling over. This is a titanic emergency. Justice won't be delayed or downplayed into a proclamation or a pretty brown band-aid. It will be taken by the people. It will be taken by the people. The people will prevail. Babies as little as 3 and 4 are now being exposed to your rotten core, America, and even out of the mouths of babes, the little boy asked, America, why is your heart so cold? Where is your compassion? Where is your justice? Thank you.
Thank you, Rashad, for that piece about the right now. So meaningful and timely as just earlier today, there was a historic vote to remove the Nathan Bedford Forrest bust from the state capitol after years of organizing. Most recently, over 3 weeks of permanent protest at the plaza. Shout out to everyone at the People's Plaza for that work and all those who've been on the ground in the years leading up to this day. I'm excited to introduce our next speaker, Rashida Fatuga, the founder of Gideon's Army. A former teacher in Metro Nashville Public Schools, Rashida started Gideon's Army some 10 years ago as an urgently needed community-based grassroots effort centering the leadership of children and youth and impacted families themselves in order to interrupt the school-to-prison pipeline, which we know is a huge racial justice issue. Let us hear the voice of Rashida rising.
Hello, everyone. Thank you first to St. Augustine's Chapel for having me here today and for uplifting the work of Gideon's Army. Again, my name is Rashida Fatuga, and I am the founder of Gideon's Army. Our mission is to act collectively, boldly, and strategically as a unified force for children. Placing children first at all times, we eliminate the root causes of the prison pipeline, save our children from death and incarceration, and guide them on a secure path to success. We will not stop until the pipeline is dismantled. We will not quit on our children. Right now, our entire world is in the middle of a revolution. Our focus is different, and in a lot of ways, we're a lot more unified than we have been ever before. I'm not really sure if anything can get any worse than it is now outside of maybe a plague of locusts or frogs. But in Nashville, we've experienced the tornado and then COVID, and now, dealing with racial injustice that we've been dealing with for centuries, but extremely magnified, and at a time when people are tired and we're already not working, so we have time. We have time now. And so what I'm here to ask for today is, if you love a child, if you love a Black child, if you believe in racial justice, if your heart is moved just in understanding that there are communities that have been neglected in Nashville for years and years and years, and that there's generational poverty, and that 37208 has the highest rates of incarceration because of something that happened in the 80s, because of racist policies that happened in the 80s. We've been dealing with the pain and the oppression and the neglect for so long, and it's been so intentional. And now we are intentionally focusing on making change. Gideon's Army is a really unique organization. We work to change and shift policies from schools, bringing restorative justice to Metro Nashville Public Schools, restorative justice to juvenile courts. We're working on several projects now with General Sessions courts that focus really on making sure that people who've been harmed have deeper levels of care than what happened in our traditional justice system. So very quickly, we work on policies, but we also build programs. And that's really what makes us unique, because a lot of times when you push for change, you're pushed out. But Gideon's Army has figured out a way to push for change and have high levels of accountability, but also provide high levels of support by creating our own systems. So we have restorative justice programs in school, restorative justice programs in the courts. We have a violence interruption program where we've seen violence be decreased as much as 8%. The only precinct, North Precinct, that has seen this amount of change. And Pearl Cone reducing suspensions and expulsions by 70 and 75%. So we're seeing really great things happen, but we definitely need your support. What we're working on is building and creating a model for what does a model city look like if we're building a culture of health based on a foundation of restorative justice and looking from a racial equity lens. If this is something that you can believe in, if this is something that you feel passionate about, then I would encourage you to please visit rebuildnorthnashville.com. It's rebuildnorthnashville.com. You can follow us on on Facebook, Instagram, Gideon's Army United. My call to action is please donate, and please also give time. Sign up and become a part of the Army. Sign up and become a part of Gideon's Army, because we'll be sending out surveys. We're opening up a store. We need help canvassing. There's so many things that we're going to need in the next couple of weeks and months. That will be short-term and long-term. So I want to say thank you for having me here again. We will not stop until this pipeline is dismantled. We absolutely will not quit on our children, and we are here for racial justice, dismantling systems, but also building systems of our own. Power to the people.
Can I get an amen? Amen? This is holy work, friends. This is the work of the church. This is gospel work, because people who are committed to being on the streets and saving lives and creating alternative systems rooted in compassion, love, and justice, this is the work. And I hope that all of you watching tonight feel that and know that and give. Again, you can give to the Justice Fund through the St. Augustine's Chapel Kindful website, which we'll show again for you to see, or you could give through Venmo at St. Augustine's Chapel and hashtag the Justice Fund. Give so we can support this critical work. And thank you, Rashida, for sharing about this critical work that Gideon's Army is doing. I understand that there are plans to expand this restorative justice work beyond North Nashville and to make it eventually statewide, and so that is something worth supporting. Our next performer, Luisa Lopez, is no stranger to St. Augustine's. She's part of the St. Augustine's community and family and active in the church, in our church's music and justice ministries. She describes herself as a singer-songwriter from the South, and her music is filled with a wonderful mix of soul, country, and, for me, my favorite, social commentary. Let us hear the voice of Luisa rising.
Thank you. I'm going to be performing a song called Tired. This song has been probably sitting inside me, in my body, for my entire life, and I finally found the words to put them out there. I never thought that in 2020 we'd be having the same conversations. And I am tired. When I was a small child, no one told me things would stay the same. That we'd sing redemption songs and we would long for yesterday, like some kind of far-off land where together is a household name. Well, that never ever was, and we haven't changed. No one ever said I'd get tired hearing the same old things over and over again, over and over again. No, I'd get so tired of fearing the same old things over and over again, over and over again. Now, no one ever told me that we would never reach equality. Change ain't gonna come in that jail system would fill with people who look like me. Now you know how cold it is to be left out in that wind when you always can see there's plenty of room. In the end, no one ever said I'd get tired of hearing the same old things over and over again. Over and over again. No, I'd get so tired of fearing the same old things over and over again, over and over again. So I say to you, you know what to do. So tired of hearing the same old things over and over again, over and over again. No, I get so tired of fearing the same old things over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, over and over. Again and new.
Thank you, Luisa, for that amazing performance. You can check out more of her work at luisalopezmusic.com. Our next speaker is the Reverend Stacy Rector, a native of Dyersburg, Tennessee, a graduate of Rhodes College and Columbia Theological Seminary. She served as associate pastor of Second Presbyterian Church in Nashville for 9 years. In 2006, Reverend Rector became executive director of Tennesseans for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, an organization whose mission is to honor life by abolishing the death penalty. She also served as spiritual advisor to Steve Henley, an inmate on Tennessee's death row who was executed in 2009. Reverend Rector is also active in anti-death penalty organizing and advocacy work at the national level and remains active in the Presbytery of Middle Tennessee. Let us welcome and hear the voice of Reverend Rector rising.
Good evening. The murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Rayshard Brooks have forced us to take a hard look at the racism infecting our society, particularly our criminal legal system. And we know that these most recent killings are not new, but follow the deaths of countless other Black and brown people through our nation's history who were terrorized and murdered by judicial and extrajudicial means. And there's a reason that some of the most prominent voices who called for the abolition of slavery, like Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison, also spoke out against capital punishment. They knew that the wrongs of slavery and the death penalty were two sides of the same coin. Both practices were based on the belief that some lives matter more than others. So a direct line can then be drawn from slavery to lynching right up to today's use of the death penalty. More than 80% of American lynchings between 1889 and 1918 took place in the South, the same region where 80% of executions have occurred since 1971. This is not a coincidence. So it's not surprising that race continues to play a large role in determining who is executed in our country today. In Tennessee, African Americans make up 17% of the state's population and 50% of death row. Between 2007 and 2017, 8 of the 9 new death sentences handed down by Tennessee juries were given to Black defendants. And nationally, 75% of cases resulting in executions were for the murders of white people, though only half of all murder victims are white, suggesting yet again whose lives matter more. Another way that we see race playing an outsized role in the death penalty system is in the jury selection process. In 2012, a report from Brian Stevenson's Equal Justice Initiative looked at jury selection procedures in 8 southern states, including Tennessee, and found evidence of racial discrimination in every state, including counties where prosecutors excluded nearly 80% of qualified African American jurors, majority Black counties where defendants were tried by all white juries, and some prosecutors who were actually trained to exclude people from juries based on race, and trained as well in how to conceal that bias. Evidence of such racial bias in the jury selection process has been highlighted recently in the Nashville case of Abu Ali Abdur Rahman, who has served on Tennessee's death row now for over 30 years. In Mr. Abdur Rahman's 1987 trial, the prosecutor at that time, John Zimmerman, engaged in misconduct, including withholding evidence and altering testimony. Mr. Zimmerman, still a prosecutor in Tennessee today, also intentionally struck qualified Black jurors from jury service. And as recently as 2015, just a few years ago, Mr. Zimmerman was reported to the Tennessee District Attorney's Conference by a colleague for comments he made in an annual gathering about how to use race to stack juries. Last August, in a decision that was approved by the court, the current Davidson County District Attorney, Glenn Funk, agreed to convert Abu Ali's death sentence to 3 life sentences because of this misconduct and this racial bias. A few weeks later, though, Tennessee Attorney General Herbert Slattery appealed the court's decision and declared his intent to seek an expedited process in order to execute Abu Ali. We should be clear. Tennessee's Attorney General does not dispute the prosecutorial misconduct and the racial bias that plagued this case, but instead he argues that the execution should go forward because he claims the court didn't have the authority to make the agreement. When the legal system is more concerned about protecting itself and its procedures than about overwhelming evidence that those procedures are fundamentally unfair and racist, then the system cannot be trusted. In such a system, In our current system, there is no room for the death penalty. As we in Tennessee now move forward with plans to execute 2 men before the end of this year, TEDP invites you to get involved today by visiting our website, TennesseeDeathPenalty.org, signing up to get our emails, our action alerts, to stay informed about what's happening. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And we also encourage you to visit justicefораbu.org, a website about Abu Ali's case and his struggle. Sign a petition there and learn more about how to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Rector, for reminding us how the death penalty is a core racial justice issue. In the spirit of what we all just heard, I'm thrilled to introduce to you our next performer and another St. Augustine's community member and musician, Michael Kelch. Michael has been playing guitar pretty much his entire life, and it shows. He's been part of the Nashville music scene of singers and songwriters since the 90s, and he also has a heart for justice and for issues like abolishing the death penalty. Let us hear the voice of Michael rising.
Thank you. Thanks for saying all that. I'm very grateful to be here and to participate with everybody up here, all the wonderful activists and the brave people that are putting themselves forward. My mom used to say, stand up and be counted. Condemned to die in Tennessee, what will they decide then? They may have judged him guilty, but he might be an innocent man. Well, which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? First they write these laws, then they pass it in the House. How can the penalty be death when there's still a shadow of a doubt? Well, which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. A dead man tells no lies, and he might be buried with the truth. Well, which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Time to choose your sides. Who decides God's will? Where do you draw the line when they say thou shalt not kill? Well, which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? side are you on? Dig deep. Donate as much as you can.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing your gifts with us tonight. You know, I'm not here to preach tonight, but there was a sermon in that song, and it has to do with the fact that we have to take sides when it comes to issues of injustice. Desmond Tutu, the former Archbishop of South Africa, said as much. If you are neutral in situations of injustice, then you side with the oppressor. You side with oppression. Which side are we on tonight, friends? Please stand and give and support these important efforts. Support these organizations. Give to the Justice Fund tonight and share the word to others. Our next speaker is here representing the Nashville People's Budget Coalition, an important grassroots coalition that has recently gained much steam in their organizing, following the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tony McDade, and others. An attorney and organizer with Southerners on New Ground Nashville, Erica connects movement lawyering with community organizing. Erica is a key leader in this People's Budget Coalition, which seeks to re-envision public safety, community well-being, and to take issues of policing and incarceration head on. Let us hear the voice of Erica rising.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Always grateful to talk a bit about this work. Again, my name is Erica Perry. I'm an organizer with Southerners on New Ground and a part of the Nashville People's Budget Coalition. And today I come to you with great grief, heartbroken, yet encouraged. Encouraged because our demand is clear, y'all. Our vision is clear. Abolish the police, abolish prisons. I am deeply grateful because I believe that the work that we are committed to in this lifetime creates possibilities for another world. I am deeply grateful because I believe that this work is the work of evangelism, to go out and find our people, to collaborate with our people, y'all, to create another world. I'm grateful. Also, I stand in recognizing that we continue the work of Black liberation, continue the work of our ancestors. So when we say abolish the police, abolish cops in cages, we are continuing the work and the tradition of people who came before us, people like Harriet Tubman, people like Ella Baker, people like Fannie Lou Hamer. And I'm deeply grateful and find that this work is sacred. And so it is an honor. And I come to this work with deep respect and deep humility and continue to invite people to join us in the struggle, the Black freedom struggle, y'all, the struggle to create a world and a Nashville where all of our lives matter, where Black lives matter. And so just for a bit, just want to talk a bit about the work of the Nashville People's Budget Coalition and what you can do. And so, again, we know that another world, another Nashville is possible, y'all, and it's happening right now as we speak. It's happening in the streets of Nashville. It's happening in the streets of Memphis. It's happening in the streets of Minneapolis, y'all, and we are encouraged by the bravery, courage, and vision of the folks who are in the streets right now demanding defund cops in cages, demanding that we invest in our communities, that we commit to young people, we commit to the work of Gideon's Army, we commit to education, we commit to teachers and support staff, y'all. They are demanding that. They demand housing, even as we right now in Nashville recognize the violent impact of gentrification and displacement. Our people are demanding housing. They are demanding property tax relief, and that is absolutely beautiful. And I just want to name that with our people right now, we are building in 3 ways. The Nashville People's Budget is building in 3 ways. One, we are demanding that we defund cops in cages. And so we are recognizing that because the police and prison and jails and pretrial detention and surveillance fail to keep us safe. We have been investing billions of dollars, almost $100 billion every year into cops in cages throughout this nation. And our people are not any more safe. Our people walk down the street afraid of the police. Our people right now are sick inside of cages right now in Nashville, Tennessee. And so that should be disturbing. And so if we are Christian, if we are called by Spirit, we know that we must then abolish those systems. Secondly, we are also deeply invested in working to invest in our communities. We are working with community members to decide what it looks like to invest in Nashville. We know that we deserve better. We deserve to live in a Nashville that is worthy of our people, and right now we are working with our people to create that. And lastly, with those two objectives in mind, we seek to accomplish that through a participatory people's process, through participatory processes, through participatory democracy, because we know that for far too long, friends, for far too long, our people have been left out of the political process. They have either been disenfranchised because they have been convicted of crimes, or they simply have not had access to voting, and then also have not found anything to believe in, to vote in. And so right now, we're like, let's work together, y'all, collectively, want to create a collective analysis of these systems, create collective solutions, and engage in collective action to fight for the solutions and for the world we believe in. So y'all, I invite you, if you're looking to do something, if you want to join us in this work, if you want to join us in creating another world, another Nashville that is worthy of our people, that is worthy of the people we love, the people we go to school with, y'all, if y'all believe in that, I want you to join us on Tuesday, August 4th, for our People Movement Assembly, where we will engage in the process of collectively deciding what we believe in and deciding to take collective action to do that. And we're meeting every first Tuesday of the month, because that's when council meets. And we know that a few weeks ago, council failed Black Lives, council failed our community, and so we're going back there every first Tuesday of the month to collectively decide and build towards a budget that reflects our values, y'all, that reflects our desire to see our people be whole. And so I invite you to that, and then you can also donate. Please donate to the National People's Budget Coalition, because this is worthy, meaningful, and necessary work, y'all. This is godly work. This is sacred work, and I'm so grateful to be able to talk to y'all about it today. Thank you, and peace.
Thank you, Erica, for bringing the passion and the fire for the work that you do. Our final act is worth waiting for, Inversion Vocal Ensemble. Founded by Dave Ragland, another musician and worship leader at St. Augustine's Chapel, the multifaceted, classically trained Inversion Ensemble moves easily and gracefully from jazz to classical to gospel to musical theater. They have offered their musical gifts to notable social and cultural causes, from playing at the inaugural MLK service at the National Civil Rights Museum to performing in the concert theatrical Frederick Douglass, The Making of a Prophet, written by Grammy-winning songwriter and St. Augustine's community member Marcus Hummon. Dave Ragland introduced this song that Inversion Ensemble is offering for us tonight through video.
The next song, you, the viewer, can participate in. It is a contemporary freedom song titled Press On. It is a call and response. The leader will give the call, press on, and the body will sing the response. So please join us. In my walking, I'll do what's right. In my walking, I'll do what's right. In my walking, I'll do what's right. I'll walk on. 'Cause I'm determined. I'm determined to carry on, and I'll never turn back no more. I'll walk on. In my singing, I'll do what's right. In my singing, I'll do what's right. In my singing, I'll do what's right. I'll sing on. 'Cause I'm determined. I'm determined to carry on, and I'll never turn back no more. I'll sing on. So when my walking,
as Inversion just told us through their song, we must press on. And so we thank you, friends, for joining us on the live stream, and we ask that you share this news, share this message, share this video on your social media platforms, and that you make a donation to the Justice Fund tonight. Again, no amount too small and no amount too large. As people of faith, we're called to stand in love and solidarity with the work of justice and to ensure that the human dignity of every person is seen and acknowledged. And this is hard work, friends. It requires hard conversations. It requires dismantling and unlearning systems of oppression. And it requires rebuilding the world that we know is possible. And so we ask that you give to the Justice Fund. We have two ways to give, as we've mentioned, through the Kindful page and through the Venmo account. And that you take heed of the calls to action that were given tonight. If you have questions and want to know more information, please follow up with me or with anyone else on our Justice Salon committee or staff, and would be happy to talk with you about these issues. But we thank you for joining us. Tonight's a call to action. Tonight's a call to stand in solidarity and to do the work that God has given us to do. It is sacred, holy work. It is work of resistance and love against all the odds. Have a good night, friends. Thank you.